Hey, what's going on, everyone? So this is Mike from One Mic Out, and that did not take long. On Monday, up in Boulder, Colorado, we had a mass shooting at a grocery store franchise up there where 10 people were killed. And the suspect was not amongst the 10 that were killed. He actually was apprehended and taken into custody, which in this day and age, when it comes to mass shootings, that's not something that you see every day with that. So that'll be interesting to see how and what kind of information they're able to pull from the suspect and maybe find out the motivators and the triggers and the things like that that led him to carry out this atrocious act. So they released the name of the gunman, and if I can see it here, it's Ahmad Al Aliwi Alisa. And there apparently reports are coming out. Obviously, it's still very fresh, very new, and there's going to be a shit ton of rumors going around on Facebook and social media of people thinking they know what the hell they're talking about, and then others who are just talking, bullshit as well, and things like that. So right now we're in that chaotic, 48 to 72 hour phase of fact finding and trying to figure out why this dude took out or carried out this atrocious act. But as the rumors are going and swirling, everyone, unfortunately, those rumors are what forge the public's concept and mindset of what happened. And so it's crucial that we get the facts out as fast as possible because people are forming opinions right now, and they're left side, right side, in the middle, whatever it is, they're forming opinions, and they're basing those opinions that they're forming off of the information flow that is coming through social media and as well as on the news. Now, what we've learned, we can't trust the news, can't trust what they say, because again, at the end of the day, it's all money, and so whatever drives viewers to those websites or those news outlets or websites and things like that, they're going to say whatever before being responsible and actually getting the facts straight and then reporting on that. So right now they're saying what these outlets are saying, as well as right-wing websites or right-leaning websites and Twitter and Instagram accounts and things like that are coming out and saying that this individual, this cat, had ties to Hezbollah and ISIS-K and things like that. Which obviously it's easy to deduce that from his name. Apparently, according to his Facebook webpage, he was from Syria. I don't know why he was in Colorado. Obviously, had to migrated here however long ago and was living in Colorado. Or he sympathized with Syrian refugees and things like that. But right now, what they're saying is he was apparently targeting like Trumpsters and Trump supporters and things like that. Who knows? We'll figure it out. But his just doing a quick rundown of his Facebook page, he had just bought this AR-15 about a week ago. Wasn't a gun nut, meaning he wasn't in the guns or anything like that. He was out to carry out an attack. And so right now, what we're going to see, and what we've already seen, is the president even today is saying wants the Senate to pass something right now, wants the House to pass something right now. Gun reform immediately, and that's how these things happen. So you can't take a government that's been in the business of manipulating the way that we, the citizens of said government country, think, and then think that they have our best interest at heart and at mind. The absolute worst thing that could ever possibly happen to any American citizen is to be disarmed. It's like, as the simple analogy is, you have a fire extinguisher for a reason. You don't take all the fire extinguishers out of the business or the home or whatever it is and say, well, no, we have firemen. We have a fire department for that. So if a fire ever breaks out, I don't need my little personal fire extinguisher that I can use to put that fire out to kill the threat of dying from a fire in a blaze. I'll wait minutes upon minutes for the fire department to get here. And hopefully I'm still alive by the time they get here and I'm not seriously injured. So the reasoning behind disarming or the reasoning behind gun control, if you will, is it's a ridiculous ridiculous justification. There is no justification, but it's a ridiculous justification um, that the left try and spin on it. Again, we've seen, criminals will get their hands on whatever they, whatever, if it's illegal, it's still in the streets right now. That being said, I do, and this is where I'm going to sound like either a devil's advocate or I contradict myself. But I do believe in some form of responsibility when it comes to guns. Meaning, um, I don't think that just anybody, regardless of who you are, should have the ability to just walk into any store and purchase a gun. There definitely has to be some sort of accountability of it. And what I mean by that is, and this is where red flag laws and people are upset about that kind of stuff and who governs that and who's going to regulate that. Trust me, there's only two ways you can go with this thing. Accept the loss, accept the collateral damage, which is, hey, in order to live in a country that allows something like a Second Amendment to exist and for you to be able to own as whatever weapon you want for the most part, then you are okay with an acceptable risk or an acceptable rate of death or injury caused by those weapons by people who are fucking nutbags. Because you can't sift through them all. You can't find them all. So you will have these people. You will have these Aliwis, Alisas, where the hell his name is, and you will have all your other shooters. Or on the other side, you have red flag laws, which a lot of my right wing friends, a lot of veteran friends of mine and whatnot are against. Which, you're trying to figure out. All right, you're trying to, like, beforehand, you're trying to figure out who the nutbags are before they get a weapon in their hand, and that's difficult, and that's not a foolproof way of doing it either. So there's going to be, it's fucked up either way. Like, you either go one way with it and you're like, yep, you know what, we're America, red blood Americans, and we want our guns, and by golly, we don't give a shit about how many mass shootings there are. We want to maintain the right to bear our arms, and we'll take the protective measures and self-defense measures into our own hands and not rely on the government to provide that protection for us all the time. Where and when they can, absolutely. But we're willing to take that responsibility, that risk, just like you take every single day, hopping in a vehicle, hopping on a motorcycle, going, out in public or whatever it is. You take that risk of something horrible happening to you. That's just life. Or you're on the other side that says, I'm willing to forego certain rights that I might have as an American citizen, as the Constitution has granted us and given us, or not allowed us or given us, but has made transparent to the government that we have those rights. And if you're okay with handing over some of those rights for security and for protection, so people, not everyone in the nutbags, maybe we catch a few of them, and before they get their hands on a weapon or on a gun, then you're in that camp. So there's two different camps to it. I am somewhere. It's tough. It's a tough one because I look at it this way. I'm probably more on the left side of that in terms of not politically left, but on this side, which is my left, of, there has to be an acceptable collateral damage rate. If you want to bear your arms, if you want to continue having that right, which I think there's a reason that we are still, even though in my opinion it's declining, but we are still the most powerful country on the planet. I think it's because of our right to bear arms and to own weapons, those sorts of weapons. We become extremely vulnerable as a society and as a nation when you take that out of the American citizens' hands. So I think, if you were to take weapons out of our hands, military grade, military style weapons, if you will, assault weapons. You know, if you take those sorts of weapons outside of our hands or out of our hands, then we are at a colossal disadvantage to what could come after that. If we've seen what has happened in this last year with COVID, the government gives no fucks about infringing on your rights. We're going to close your business. We're going to force you to close your business. And then if you're trying to make a living still, we're going to fine you on top of, you know, we're going to make you pay even more money or lose more money on top of the money that you're already losing from not having any business. And then the government insults us by giving us $600 and then now another 1,400 or something like that. The government doesn't care. The government gives no shits about you. When it comes to like the government, you should never have to put your faith in a government because that's not a thing. They're not God. So why should I have to put my faith in the government? I shouldn't. The government is. You remember, the government needs us. We don't need it. That's how it was written. That's how it's supposed to be. The government isn't there to be our manager. It's not there to be our supervisor. It's not there to make sure that we're staying in line, you know, within the certain rules of society in which we signed on the dotted line that we would follow. No, we put them in power just to represent us as a country and as a nation throughout the world. If your mindset is the government is providing us security, then you need to really recheck and rethink that mindset, because that's definitely not what they are there for. But that's another rabbit hole that we can go down later. So back to now we have this gun control debate, obviously. So to me, it's like, surprise, Democrat takes office. We had an irregular election that was just weird. Everything that's kind of happened, you know, Biden supposedly had the most votes for a newly elected president than any other president in history, but yet he has like no supporters. There's like no pride in Biden. The Biden pride is like literally subterranean. And so it's just really weird to go, yeah, that's the guy that is having issues walking upstairs, can't remember lines, can't, won't follow the script that has been handed to him. And then the White House has to cut the feed because he said, I'll take questions. And then they cut the feed because they don't want him taking questions from the press and things like that. That's the guy that got so many votes. So there are those irregularities, but if an entire system is corrupt, then good luck at convincing that system that they are corrupt and they should just turn over a new leaf, because they won't, that's the whole point of why they're doing what they're doing. So, the next step in this whole process is back to gun control. Okay. So Democrats are back in office in order to have even more control over the people, because we've given them more control in the last year alone. And we're right at 12 months now. Because I want to say it was around last March of 2020. Remember how long March lasted last year of 2020? It lasted like 6 goddamn months. March was like the longest month in the history of man, of 2020. And so you fast forward to now. I mean, we handed them so many rights to where now I'm seeing people. This is what irks me right now is we're out at an outdoor bar the other night, and 3 spring breakers walk up to the bar. There's not a single person outside in the whole area wearing a damn mask, good. Welcome to fucking Florida. We don't care about that anymore, because why? It's not necessarily a thing, it's almost like COVID was so last year. And, they walk up wearing masks, and if the whole point of a mask, remember the whole point of wearing the mask was to protect other people from you. So you wear the mask so that you don't pass on your little pathogens onto other people. That's the reason for wearing a mask. So if I walk into a crowd of people, or I walk into a restaurant or an establishment or anything, and not one other single person is wearing a mask, I'm going to take my fucking mask off. And I'm going to be like, cool, hey, you guys don't care about my health because you're going to spread your germs on me, which we've been doing for hundreds of thousands and whatnot of years, like not giving a shit. And if I walk in and I'm the only one wearing a mask on, I'm taking mine off. But the problem is the government, they've succeeded in making you feel like by wearing that mask, you are secure, you are safe, that you're protecting yourself from other people. And that's what's happening. Like, people are getting indoctrinated and they're getting manipulated and duped into thinking, I have this mask on, so therefore I am safe from all these people not wearing a mask. That wasn't the reason to wear a mask in the first place. No. They told us, and what is written on the damn box is it will help prevent its intake. You're going to intake whatever you breathe in. You're breathing air, right? You're not breathing air through a filter. All right. You're not breathing air's coming in through the sides and through up and down. All right. So you're breathing in whatever the hell is around you. But the little particles that you're spitting out when you talk, that's what that mask is stopping. It's not stopping any air you're breathing out. So people, there's little microscopic particles in that are getting out, that are going up and down and left and right out of your mask. All right. That other people are breathing in, but it's stopping those little spit particles from landing on someone else's lips or tongue or nose or eyeball or whatever the hell. And you're doing them a service by wearing a mask. That's the whole reason behind wearing a mask. That's why it was 6 feet away, because apparently when I talk, my spit won't go 6 feet. Okay, cool. So I can understand that logic. But when you look at people and they're wearing masks in their vehicles alone. They're wearing masks while they're walking down the street alone. They've been duped into thinking that the mask is protecting them from the elements around them, which it is not. And so that's what I'm getting at, is people are so easily manipulated. They are that fucking stupid, bless your hearts, that they will just listen to anything the media tells them. That's why this gun debate is so important, because the first little tidbits of information that come out, people see mass shooting and they're already conditioned to say, they're already conditioned. Once a mass shooting comes out, they're already conditioned of going, oh God, it must have been another crazy white guy, or it must have been another crazed individual who had mental issues with a assault rifle. Okay, well, read today already, blue check mark on Twitter, said just because he has a Muslim name doesn't mean, or just because he is Muslim does not mean he is not white. So they're already, and this is a left-leaning commentator, news commentator, who said this, and it's just hilarious. So it's like almost like they're fighting to make it white. Like, oh, we got to make sure that it's in the news that this guy was white. And so it's just hilarious. I mean, by that same reckoning, this is where I get people, where it's like, okay, if that's how far you're going to go, then I should be able to say Barack Obama is white. Because if that's the route, if it's always going to be that argument, you get what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But that leads me to my next point that I want to make. In what way could the government, and this all very conspiracy theory and whatnot, but whatever. That's why we talk about it and discuss it and just see what everyone else's thoughts are on it. But let's just put it this way. Let's just say that ISIS and like Hezbollah, and Al-Qaeda and Taliban and all of them, let's just say that they had some sort of, there was some sort of second, third, and fourth, and fifth, and at 100th order of effects of things to where they ended up being funded by the U.S. government. All right. Meaning, it went through a third party to a fifth party to a 20th party, but somehow the money that left the U.S. ended up funding or backing certain organizations. Crazy theory, right? Not like it's never happened before. Wink, wink. So let's just say, all right, that if I were a government, so if I'm sitting here and I'm like, I need someone to carry out an act in order for me to get more support from the people to pass legislation or to pass a bill or to pass some security measure that I want to take away. I want to take away certain rights, but in order to do that, you have to guise it under the guise of security. I'm providing you security and safety. That is why we must do this. This is why I'm taking away the sharp object out of your hands, because if you were to run, you could trip and fall and hurt yourself. So therefore, I'm going to take this sharp thing out of your hand. Oh, and I'm going to tie your laces together to prevent you from running. You may still fall, but you're at least not running at that point. So if you are trying to manipulate a group of people to back you, how would you do that? You have to create a need for that security. You have to create a need for them to, a yearning for them to want that. Like, oh my God, I'm afraid to leave my house because I am so afraid that I might just get shot. And all these big, nasty, scary guns that you see on movies are now showing up in my streets. Oh my God, what do I do? Help me government, help me government, help me government. So what do you do to create that, to cause that to happen? Well, you have to manipulate another base to want to carry out those sorts of acts. And what I'm getting at is what you do is you fund a radical ideal or a radical ideology to hate another ideology, and then you take the side that's easily offended, and instead of having a diplomatic conversation about it, they like to blow things up, they like to shoot up things, they like to suicide bomb stuff, they like to do all that. You know where I'm going with that. So if there's a certain group that is that easily offended and they go so extreme when they are offended, then well shit, let's vector that anger and that energy towards the cause that I ultimately want, the result that I ultimately want, which is to disarm the American people. Okay, so who are the people who are easily indoctrinated? The radicals, the people who are extreme. And so what ends up happening is you throw some information out there, and it goes from one to another website, to another website, to another website. And then they sift out who are the people who will respond to these certain things. And then they get targeted as, hey, this might be someone we could utilize and might do something for us. And then they get radicalized and then they are essentially manipulated into carrying out some sort of an attack like we just saw in Boulder, Colorado. All right. So it's a connecting the dots sort of thing, but it's something that has been done before by our very own government and by governments throughout the world, that they've done going all the way back to World War II. And it's not crazy to think that, if you think that is not happening today, then you really do have some wool over your eyes. And you're being duped. And so you need to remain, thinking for yourself. If someone breaks into my house right now, or into your house right now, and you're home alone, or your wife is home alone, or your kids are home alone, or just whatever it is, right? Do you want to take away probably the best force multiplier and the best home defense mechanism you possibly could have as a last line of defense? Do you want to take that away and just leave it up to the police to show up minutes later or longer, and hopefully by that time they're cleaning up the mess? And so with overseas we had GAs, we had our guardian angels who were our protectors. So in areas that we weren't allowed to be arms per contract, per company, per whatever we were doing, just whatever our mission set was, and if we were trying to build up a rapport with the key leader engagements that we were performing and things like that, you wouldn't want to be strapped yourself for in that moment having your little chai tea and things like that. But you would have your guardian angels, who essentially are assigned security details, protecting you. But the thing is they're not really there to protect you. They're there to stop something after it already happens. Because at any moment, someone could just walk in at any moment and either detonate a suicide vest, or if they come up on gun and take out, and they're going to take a few people out first before GAs or anyone else would respond and neutralize them. But by that point in time, the damage has already been done, meaning people have already died, or at least been shot or hurt. And so, and they're already right there on scene. If you get what I'm saying, is they're right there already. They're not down the road. They're not at some precinct. They're not in a squad car somewhere around the corner and then having to wait for a phone call to go through to a dispatch to hop on a radio to then try and find the closest unit and then tell that unit where you're at. And then that unit have to plug in, okay, it's over this way. And then they have to, there's a lot of little variables that go into, them having to find where you live and things like that in order to respond. So I'm talking, you're adding all these different factors into the matter that are elongating the time of response. And so you take away that ability for you to defend yourself. You recognize a threat. The number one thing we should all do is try and de-escalate if we recognize that something is escalating. If we recognize that there is a potential for bad things to start to happen, you either break contact and get out, just leave, go home, just get out of the situation. It doesn't matter how big and badass you are. Remember Chris Kyle, right? So things can just go bad. And so if you can recognize that things are you're sensing it's a little sketch, then just leave, for one. If you are unable to leave, then and you are, say, you're concealed carrying or whatnot, or just someone knocks on your door and it just doesn't seem right, and you're ready to react if you need to. Well, now you just up your chances of survival. If you don't have anything at all, then your chances of survival are almost zero. So, I know, like in this one, man, went a little bit long today, but I'm just getting, like I said, I'm getting my legs under me, my wheels under me, trying to figure this whole thing out. But I don't know. I would like to know people's thoughts. And I got friends on the left side and the right side of this who are very passionate about gun control, who want gun control, who want all big, black, scary guns off the street just because of that. They're big, black, and scary, and they kill people. But then I got people who say, okay, if that's the case, then I want big 18-wheelers off the roads because they kill more people every single year than all gun crimes in this country combined. So, like, at what point do you say life is precious? And then if it's life, it's precious, then it has to be universal. It can't just be, well, all gunshot victim lives are precious, but these other people's lives are not precious because, well, they weren't killed in a mean, scary way. That was an accident. And so there's a lot of talk that has to go into it, but it really boils down to just the two, I guess, thought processes, in my opinion. If you're for guns, if you're for the Second Amendment, uninfringed, shall not be infringed. And if you are for being able to protect yourself, not just from home intruders, but it's supposed to be, whatever the government has, the citizens can have as well. Now, granted, no one has enough money. Well, the regular citizen doesn't have enough money to go buy, a freaking F-35 or something like that, but if you can have the same sort of firepower, at least, to where you can defend your own soil, this sovereign soil that we live on, against foreign and domestic enemies, you better bet your ass I want my 30-round mags. You better bet your ass that I want my ARs, and my different, my SBRs and my other weapons that I've all lost in a boating accident. But you better bet your ass that I want those weapons available and at my disposal. Because as we've seen in cities like Portland and Minnesota, and as we've seen in Washington, D.C. even, and what we're seeing in Miami, just even over spring break and things like that just now, we've seen that cities, and we've seen that cities can just go to shit. Things go bad. And all of a sudden they're burning shit down and businesses are getting destroyed and cars are getting destroyed and people are getting hurt and people are getting shot in the streets and things like that. Mark my words, you can't take all weapons away. You take them away, now the average everyday law-abiding citizen has no way to defend themselves. However, all the criminals that don't follow the law will be the ones left with the weapons. And trust me, they will have their pipelines for weapons. There will be weapons still in the street, and the average everyday citizen will be the sitting duck. And so, but you have to be okay with the collateral damage that comes with that. Meaning, if you are for having weapons, then you're for the collateral damage of these types of shootings. Because if there was a solution for it, it would have already been come up with. I get the mindset, and I get I get the argument of, if we removed all weapons, then that average everyday impulsive fucking nut job wouldn't if he walked into the store wanting a weapon and there were no weapons to buy, then he'd be like, okay, well, what am I going to go do now? I get that argument because he's probably not going to go buy a katana and go hack people up because a weapon is a projectile firing weapon is very how to put it, is not as personal in a way. I know that sounds crazy, but it's not as personal as like if I'm stabbing someone. I don't have to get as close, and if I have to get close to you to hit you with a sword or an axe, or stab you with a knife, then, that's a lot of people. That right there is I get it. There's a deterrent to a lot of people who are impulsive criminals, who are impulsive, actors, if you will. They'll act upon that impulse. But, and I do understand the argument if they have the ability to go get a weapon, a firearm. I do understand that impulse that they can go in, and they walk out same day with that rifle, and then they're able to load it and go take out 10 people at a grocery store. I understand that argument. However, that's in the short term. In the long run, if you take away weapons, people will eventually be like, okay, well, shit, we don't have access to firearms anymore. So what else can I do? What can I make? What can I create? You're going to see a lot more mass cas events in terms of bombings. You will see an upscale in hammer crimes and knives and things like that as well, and stabbing crimes and things like that. You would see that go up. Automobile homicides and things like that. You would see all that kind of stuff go up. That's a guarantee on it. And one of the reasons those would go up is because all of those victims wouldn't have a way to have a force multiplier against that individual or those individuals, meaning they wouldn't have something greater than what that individual is using to carry out the attack on them. Meaning, if they're bringing a knife to a gunfight, that's what we want. We want to have the gun and them have the knife. And if we take that gun out of that law-abiding citizen's hands, now they're left at the mercy of the perpetrator. So there's two sides to it. And again, you have to either be for the acceptance of the collateral damage that'll happen. You have to be for the acceptable risk factor of, hey, you know what, in order to have this right, this is how many people will die each year because of the nut jobs that go out and actually are able to gain access to these weapons. And then you have the other side, which would be, okay, let's give up this right, the Second Amendment right, that is a constitutionally backed right for every American citizen to own this weapon. And let's go ahead and give that over to the government. And you are now our sole protector. You are now in charge of my life. I am now handing my security, my well-being, my safety. I am entrusting you, the United States government, in providing that for me. I am putting faith in you, the government, that you will be there when and if and when this happens to me. Okay, so that point has already been proven that it does not work on Monday. Because someone walked in to a store, grocery store, killed 10 people, and nobody returned fire. And the very first police officer who arrived on scene was killed. So you had one individual for, I don't know how many people were in the store at the time that the shooting started, but you had one, local government official arrive to protect all those people, and he was killed. And thus, if you go down as a peace officer, and you go down, now everyone else who was banking on you protecting them, providing that security and protection for them, it's out the window. So that has already proven that can't be a number one course of action. That cannot be, I will give all of everything over to the government to protect me, because I know they will, because quite frankly, they won't. But let's just say everyone in that store was a concealed carry permit holder and had a sidearm on them or a weapon on them. I guarantee you 10 people would not have been killed. You may have had 1 or 2, 3 maybe, but you wouldn't have had 10. But Colorado's a big time gun control state. They don't allow 30 round mags. They don't allow. It's harder to get a concealed carry permit holder or permit up there. They have gun free zones galore and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, they are one of the examples of what Democrats want to do to the entire nation. And look what's happened. Look what Colorado has happened quite a bit. And so obviously there's deeper issues. We can get into the mental health discussion about this later, further on for all my 2 people still watching. But these are just my crazy random thoughts about the whole thing. In my opinion, at the end of the day, to sum it all up, yes, we need the Second Amendment because bigger, badder things are coming, or at least we need to be ready for that. And 2, if you take that away, we're literally giving we are giving all of ourselves to the government, saying here you go. Then we are now your subjects. You said you'll keep us safe, so we therefore will change from citizen to subject. Keep us safe. And I just don't want to. I wouldn't want to live like that. I'm willing to, unfortunately, accept the risk. And when being in the military, that was something that was, you had your minimum, your acceptable minimum risk factor, and you would accept it. Okay, hey, we might lose, X amount, but that's how important this objective is. That's how important this and the objective of the American dream, in my opinion, is much more important, and it's too important for us just to bend over backwards and believe that the government that already overtaxes you, that already overregulates you, that already is trying to micromanage your entire life. I'm not, forgive me, but I'm not all trusting of elected officials. If you've written a book and you're an elected official that was put in office because of people like me, and now you're using your platform to make millions of dollars on the side when that's not the reason we put you there, was so you become insta-famous and write a book, and now you're making those millions. I don't trust you, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. You can be left or right. I don't care, because that's not why we put you there in the first place. As just like it was in the military, if I came up with an idea that was when I was on duty, that idea belonged to the military, and that's a fact. You can look that up. So I look at it the same way. Hey, you write a book on our time, that the reason we hired you as an elected official, then those proceeds should go right back to the American people, and not to line your pockets because you're using a position that we asked you, we elected you to represent us, not to line your pockets. But anyway, that's another discussion later down the line. But anyway, let me know what you think. And if you have any ideas to make this thing better and all that kind of stuff too. Again, I'm still learning how to deal all the tech stuff. I am not a tech savvy guy. So let me know and throw it in the comments or something like that. Hit me up, and we'll talk to you next time. So we're about one mic out from being done with this thing. I appreciate y'all, and keep liking and sharing and doing all that fun stuff for me to try and get this this ball rolling and moving more. But again, both sides of the aisle, let me know what you think. Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, independent, whatever the hell you are. Just let me know what you think about the whole thing. It's just no surprise to me that all of a sudden it's like cue the mass shootings again, and here we are again, because due to the political climate and atmosphere in the country, we all called it. A lot of us called it, and now it's happening again. So anyway, we'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.